In this video, I will talk about four very important topics in discrete mathematics. The first one is conditional statement. The second one is contrapositive. Then we discuss converse, and later on we talk about inverse. So we start with the conditional statement. First, I define conditional statement, how we define conditional statement and write truth table for that. So let me just start with conditional statement first. So let me just copy that. So first of all, we have conditional statement. In our daily life, when we communicate with each other, we put some condition to do certain thing so that the outcome will be according to that condition. Suppose if one says that if you work hard, then you become a successful. So for, be, for becoming a successful person, one must do hard work. So the condition is you must do hard work. So such statements exist in our daily life as well. So what is the symbol for writing conditional statement? The symbol for writing conditional statement is right arrow. And in conditional statement, we in English text we write if and then. If and then. If something is true, then you get the result. That's how the conditional statement works. So it means that we must have something after if, and we must have some statement after then. Suppose we have two statements, we call it P, and another statement we call that Q. If P is true, then Q must follow the P, and the P is, we already talked about in our previous video, is some statement, and the name of and the symbol for that statement is P. So let me just write a table, truth table for conditional statement. So we needed two variables, P, Q, and what we can conclude from these two statements. P implies Q. We assume if the statement P is true and the statement Q is also true, if the conclusion is true, remember that this is called hypothesis and this is called conclusion. So if P is true, it means that we have a true statement P, and the result is also positive. It means that we have a true statement as a conclusion. Then P implies Q is also true. Now suppose the P, if you fulfill the condition but the conclusion is not correct, for example, suppose if you did hard work but still you are not successful, then what will happen? The P implies Q will be wrong since the conclusion was not fulfilled. So this is false. Now suppose that if you do not do hard work, it means that it is false. And suppose that the conclusion is you are successful, then it is true. So the end product is that we achieved what we wanted to do, but without fulfilling the condition. So the end result is positive. It means that the end result is obtained. So we have true. Now suppose that this is very interesting. If we have the P statement is false and the Q statement is also false, then what will happen? Now the student think, or maybe if you are watching, then you also think that the result will be false. But this is not the case. So it means that if you do not do hard work, then you will not be successful. Okay. But sometimes it happens that even you fulfill the conditions, but still you do not get the desired result. So for 2f, the result is also true. Okay. It means that we have two false statements such that they do not really exist in our daily life. Suppose we have a desert, and if someone says that if there is a snowfall in desert, then we will ski. Now, you know that it is very real or maybe totally impossible that if you have a snowfall in desert, right? So it means that the statement is false, the output is also false, but P implies Q is true. If you will not put these two F as true, then if you claim that this will be false, you must convince yourself that it should be false, which is not the case. You cannot say that the 2F becomes F in conditional statement. Okay, let me just quickly give you some examples on conditional statement. Suppose the P statement is Maria learns discrete mathematics. Discrete mathematics. Now the Q statement is Maria will find a job. Maria will find a job. So it means that if Maria learns discrete mathematics, this is a condition for Maria to get a job. Okay. So we can write for example, we can write if Maria learns discrete mathematics, then Maria will or she will get a job. Okay, so this is one of the examples for conditional statement. Another example. Suppose we say that if 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, then x is equal to x plus 1. We write such statements in programming, computer programming languages in MATLAB and Python. It just says that if one condition is true, it means that 2 plus 2 is 4, then you can add something in X. So this is another example of conditional statement. Now we move to our another topic, which is contrapositive. So what is contrapositive? Contrapositive. Contrapositive is obtained by negating both the hypothesis and conclusion and reversing their order. Let me just write it for you. Suppose we have conditional statement like that. Contrapositive says that first you negate the conditional statement. We negate that. Then we reverse the order of this negation conditional statement. So this becomes not Q and not P. So this is the contrapositive. One thing we should remember is that conditional statement is conditional statement is logically equivalent to its contrapositive. So it means that if the contrapositive statement is true, then its corresponding, if the conditional statement is true, then its corresponding contrapositive is also true. For example, if we write, if today is Easter, if today is Easter, then tomorrow is Monday. Tomorrow is Monday. Okay. So it means that on Sunday we have Easter. If the Easter is on Sunday, then on Monday, then definitely it will be Monday tomorrow. Okay. So we can write it as the contrapositive. The contrapositive statement of this statement is if tomorrow is not Monday. Okay. For example, if tomorrow is not Monday, then what will that day be? It might be Tuesday, it might be Wednesday, it might be Thursday, so on. So it means that it cannot be Sunday anyway. So if it is not Sunday, then today is not Easter, since it is not Sunday. Then today is not Easter. So you can see that if this statement is true, then its contrapositive is also true. Okay. Okay. Suppose we have another example. If it is raining, if it is raining, if it is raining, then the ground then the ground is wet. Then the ground is wet. So definitely if there is raining, for example, some people wants to play football or cricket or any kind of sports, and they find out there is a ground where they want to play is wet. So the ground can be wet due to different reasons, but the most possibility is it is raining. So maybe the first thing is if it is raining, then the ground will be wet anyway. The raining statement, the condition should be true, then the ground will be wet. Okay. Now, what will be the contrapositive of this conditional statement? Contrapositive will be contrapositive. If the ground is not wet, if the ground is not wet, then for sure it is not raining. This statement, the given statement, conditional statement was true, so that its contrapositive is also true. The next topic is, although the video is a bit longer, but we will talk about the next topic, which is converse. If we have a conditional statement, P implies Q, this is the given original conditional statement. The converse of this, the converse of conditional statement is Q implies P. Q implies P. Okay. Now, the conditional statement is not logically equivalent to the converse. So it means that if you swap, if you swap if and then, and this becomes if and then, if it is true, then it might not be true as well. In contrapositive case, swapping and negation and swapping will give you the same result as original statement. Okay, we test this statement again with some example. So we have one example over here. If it is raining, if it is raining, then the ground is wet. If it is raining, then the ground is wet. So first we make a converse of this conditional statement. For converse, what we can do, we write it as if ground is wet. If ground is wet, then it is raining. This is its converse. Now it might not be true. The converse might not be true. Why it would not be true? The reason is if someone is looking at the ground and that ground is wet, that ground can be wet due to some other reasons as well. There might be water coming from other sources other than the rain. So this statement may or may not be true. The original statement is true, but its converse might not be true. It can be true, but it cannot. It is not, in fact, remains true. Okay, it can be true or it can be false. If the ground is wet due to the rain, then this statement is true. If it is wet due to other reasons, then this statement is false. So this was about the converse. Now the last topic for this video is the inverse. If we talk about inverse, what is inverse? If we are given a conditional statement, P implies Q, which is conditional statement, conditional statement, and the inverse of this will be not P, not P, and not and not Q. This is its inverse. So in inverse, what we can do is we make a negation of original conditional statement. So this is inverse. So what about this? If we create an inverse statement from conditional statement, whether both will be true. If this is true, either this will be true as well or not. The answer is it may or may not be true. The inverse may or may not be true. So it is logically, the inverse is not logically equivalent to the original statement. Let me just give you an example and wind up today's video. If it is raining, example, example, if it is raining, if it is raining, then the ground is wet. This is our original statement. What will be the inverse? Inverse. If it is not raining, if it is not raining, if it is not raining, then the ground is not wet, is not wet. The inverse statement might not be true. If there is no rain, but still ground can be wet due to the external sources like the water coming from the pipes or maybe some sewerage that is going through the ground. So the ground can be wet. So without the rain, the ground can also be wet. So this statement might be false, and this statement is, so these are logically not equivalent to each other. So this was all about the inverse. So this was also about all about the conditional statement, contrapositive, converse, and inverse. Thank you for watching.